Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are on chapter 10, and I'm sure by now you guys are like the best anger managers on the planet Earth, and you're going to get better. Stay tuned. I'm going to read through two sections and start typing in your questions because we want to hear what you are thinking and what your challenges are. Okay, we're on chapter 10, page 250, Face Mastery. Another area of anger expressed that is crucial for us to understand and to monitor ourselves on is our facial expressions, right? I'm smiling for the people on the audio podcast. Okay. While it's challenging to bite your tongue in the midst of a surge of aggravation, it can be even more difficult to refrain from giving someone a dirty look, especially if we are certain that they deserve it. Could Hashem truly expect us to manage our facial expressions to such an extent? In a famous quote, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said that our faces and our expressions are like public property. They give us the power to help or harm everyone we meet. Similarly, the Chazon Ish taught that our inner feelings affect only us, but the countenance we show to the world affects the mood and happiness of those around us as well. Powerful. One furrowed brow can crush someone, and we have a responsibility not to crush people. It may seem impossible to control our facial expressions so well, but we know from the Gemara that Hashem never asks us to do something that we are not capable of achieving. So how do we gain mastery over our face? By doing a quick cost-benefit analysis. The benefits of giving a dirty look are that our husband gets our message immediately. It takes minimal effort, and we can deliver the reprimand virtually anywhere. The costs are that our husband never feels safe around us, and we lose closeness with every subsequent negative facial expression that we do. Our husband will also continue in turn to use this dreadful communication techniques, as will our children. We will never learn to take care of our loved ones properly, and we will weaken our self-control because with facial expressions, we can lash out in a much harsher way than we might ever do verbally. Further, we won't ever feel an intense pleasure available only from the pride of restraining ourselves in this way. Rabbi Zelig Pliskin gives us the chilling warning. Condescending looks and smiles, disapproving stares and grimaces are as powerful an expression of disdain as the words they silently express. In fact, most people read these expressions even more clearly, for they cut straight to the heart without traveling first through the intellect. This is quite a wake-up call. The words that we speak go from our mouth to a person's brain and then to his heart, but withering looks go directly to his heart and are much more devastating. Our facial expressions are such an awesome responsibility. Our sages teach us to receive everyone with a cheerful face. We need to take this seriously and put this on our agenda to work on. It could be the difference between a house full of tension and one filled with joy. Recognize this. Dirty looks are a bad habit that we can overcome. Growing in this area starts by recognizing the cost to our relationships. That knowledge can truly propel us to new heights. Just by realizing in the heat of the moment that a facial expression we're about to show is detrimental and will accomplish the opposite of what we want, to be closer to our husband, can make all the difference. And just like any habit, it takes time and repetition to get on the other side of it. But with positive reinforcement and much vigilance, expunging this habit from our repertoire of communication techniques can completely alter our home life for the better. The much, much better. Okay, when silence is golden, page 251. Another insidious communication technique people use that has a track record of wreaking havoc in the home is the silent treatment. That's when one spouse punishes the other one by shutting down all or most communication for a brief or extended amount of time. The victimized spouse is left in frustration and agony as the perpetrator now penalizes them by acting like a stranger. It can be devastating to the victim, as it completely erodes trust in the relationship. If you are on the victim side of this game, it might take a third party to help your spouse learn more productive communication methods, or frankly, to even get them to admit the problem. If you are on the perpetrating side, you owe it to yourself to do whatever you possibly can to expunge this bad habit, born of the misguided notion that this is an effective strategy. Even if in the middle of it, you feel like you have the upper hand and can control the situation, without exception, you always end up worse off than you were before you started. Remember this at all times. Nothing good ever comes out of the silent treatment. I should know, as I mentioned before, this little game was part of my routine when I first got married. I didn't know any better, and it took quite some time, some work on my part to learn more productive ways to communicate and connect with my husband. The key to getting on the other side of this destructive habit is to understand the devastating effects of this behavior. Knowing the cost to your marriage can bolster your resolve to eradicate this demoralizing strategy from your home. Consider the loss of closeness in the marriage, the loss of trust, and the lack of any strategic gains in the process. The exhaustion from maintaining an angry demeanor, the lack of motivation to learn better coping skills, and living in a war zone without any support system. The feelings of loneliness and helplessness, having to maintain a constant mood of righteous indignation, fitful sleep, an unpleasant home. It's sounding pretty, huh? Not having everyone's like, not having a moment to relax because you must stay on guard. And worst of all, the knowledge that a very unpleasant, heavy-duty confrontation can happen at any moment. Talk about lack of serenity. It is also crucial to remind ourselves that the silent treatment should never be confused with the meritorious work of remaining silent in the midst of an argument. As mentioned, biting your tongue to maintain shalom is a very fine midah, an exemplary character trait to work on, and one that you should be extremely proud of every instant you accomplish it. That is quite different from the silent treatment, in which we withdraw our engagement with the other half of our soul. The way to differentiate between the two in your own mind is that biting your tongue is an exceptionally challenging act that you are doing to improve relations, and you will hopefully feel extremely proud of yourself as you are actually doing it. The silent treatment, on the other hand, will hopefully give you a twinge of guilt as you do it because you know you are resorting to a bit of an immature methodology. Woo! Okay, ladies, that's silent treatment. Da da da. Okay, here we go. What do we got? What do you got for me?
Okay, great chapter. So Leora asks, I understand how anger in the moment is destructive, but my husband tells me that he wants me to be real with him. He feels that when I hold back, I'm not being authentic, and he wants me to express myself freely. How should I handle this?
I don't get it. Can you explain it?
Yeah, sure. She feels like she's trying to hold back from being like super passionate or like show her anger. But then when she becomes like very demure and she's not speaking the way that she normally does, her husband feels like she's not being her authentic self and not showing herself freely. So she's like caught in the middle of
I
like,
get it. Okay, fine. So this is actually, you're gonna have to sell them on this idea. You're gonna have to tell them that like letting it all hang out, which was very popular back in the day, that is called not taking care of somebody, and you can just sell them on the idea. Say, I say my responsibility of taking care of you. I can be my full, boisterous, exciting self on good things and on things I'm excited about, things we're passionate about, our projects together, our children, our life, our I can be very bubbly and happy in my full self, authentic self. But when I'm feeling anger and upset and whatever, I think that's a time I need to control myself. I need to have mastery over myself. I need to be able to, navigate it without hurting you, without hurting anybody, and without saying things I don't mean because I'm being authentic. Being authentic is a sham if it's poisoning other people. We know from all of our examples of our the sages and the great people of our history that they controlled themselves, that they had mastery over themselves, that they might have felt whatever crazy emotions. King David and but he was able to take care of other people in the face of whatever was going on. And so just sell your husband on that and say, I really want to be the best me and to take care of you as much as possible. And I'm authentic. That's who I am. But at those times when it might take me some time to learn how to deal with my anger because I've just been yelling for the last 10 years, and to learn how to be that person that can hold it in and can, maybe I'm over swinging and the pendulum's all the way over here and I'm being too quiet. Hopefully it'll even out over time. Give me time, but I really want to learn self-mastery like that. It's good question. And I'm impressed with
great.
you. Go ahead.
Okay, Lana asks, I've been trying to bring humor into the angry moments, and I'll put on a silly face instead of rolling my eyes. My husband finds this really immature. I tried explaining that it's my way of working on it, but he responded that he'd rather stay married to an angry adult and not a child. Should I stop this altogether or try to explain it to him again?
Oy. Well, I can't imagine you explained it in a way like how come he doesn't get that? Like really, really, like he should get that. It was beautiful. I'm so proud of you and so impressed with you. Really, really did a beautiful job. And
But
it's
like if she's sticking her tongue out at him, like, I'm upset with you, like that, and he's just like, what is that? You know,
right.
I could hear it.
I definitely could hear his side of it. So again, this is one of those things I think you just got to take. And for the podcast audio, video listeners, audio only listeners, I'm cupping my hands and I'm like a bowl and I'm handing it to the husband and say, okay, I hear, how do you suggest I handle this? You say you'd rather an angry adult. I don't want to be an angry adult. I want to be able to handle this in a better way. And can we brainstorm, and sell them on the idea of brainstorming with you and find out what would work. Making funny faces or what would work in the middle of the moment when you're feeling angry. How can you diffuse it for yourself so that you can take care of him? And see what he says. Often when you're doing a brainstorming thing, if you take a journal and you write down 10 potentials, because your husband will like, I don't know, you figure it out. If you write 10 things that you think might work, like he didn't like the face. Let's say you made a silly face. Let's say he maybe he wants a word cue. Maybe it's, if you were to say to him, how about when I'm really upset and whatever, instead of making the funny face, I say, I'm really upset now. I need a timeout, or mommy's, or wifey needs 5 minutes to process whatever. What would work for you? And try and journal and come up with a few answers that you can present to him. It's a beautiful question. I'm very proud of you for working on that. And for whatever reason, it's not, you need to get a better solution. Very, very good. So you should be proud of yourself for working on this. Okay, go ahead, Keelan. What you got?
Okay, great. Okay, so Anna asks, you say to smile even if you don't feel it. My husband finds this very fake and sarcastic. He says it's not normal to go from a low to a high so fast, and he thinks I'm not emotionally stable. He says that there is value to feeling down or angry and slowly working yourself up. Which one is it?
It depends on the person. So he's like being a little judgy. So I would say to him, that you're like, and you're in this experimental mode. You're trying to be better at something for him, to take care of him and to love him and support him and be there for him and be strong for him. And you're trying to get yourself out of your bad moods and whatever. You don't know, how to do it. You're trying things out. And you'd really, 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 really appreciate his support in it instead of his judgment on it, and say, okay, I hear that, but what other suggestions do you have? So a lot of this comes down to communication. A lot of it also comes down to, I have to say, I'm impressed that the men care so much. You know what I'm saying? It's a good sign that your husband's on it, and with you in this journey that you're taking. But if he's putting you down for how you're feeling, you need to tell him, I'm just trying. I'm trying to be a better wife, and you're making it harder for me. I'm not saying that it should be my way, but help me here. Let's figure this out. What's going to work for you that's also going to work for me so that I can grow as a person and be going up the ladder instead of down the ladder. I want to fulfill my perfection in this world and be my shlemus and be all that I can be and be as wonderful a wife as I can be. And I'm going to stumble, and I'm going to do things that make you feel, whatever, but at least I hope you're recognizing my heart's in it. And it's from my heart to your heart. We can figure out the logistics, but from my heart to your heart, I hope you're happy with the work I'm trying to do. Like that. Hopefully you softens his heart. I give you a bracha, it should soften his heart. Okay, go ahead.
Amen. Okay. Okay, so Anna L's question is, after an argument, I always want space to rethink the argument and give myself time to warm up again. Is this the silent treatment? Space always makes me feel better.
So silent treatment is when you do it against their will, or you don't communicate about it.
Or you ignore.
Or you ignore. Thank you. So, but if you are saying, wow, this was quite a head spin. I need some time to process this. Don't take my silence or my going in the other room and doing the dishes or going on a walk or going shopping, retail therapy, whatever, don't let that make you feel that I'm not, processing it and that I'm ignoring you or anything like that. I'm totally with you. And actually, if you need me emergently, is that a word? Yeah, if you need me, right, whatever, I'll be there for you. But what I'd like to do right now is just take the time to process. Good. Very good. Okay, good. What else you got for me?
Okay. What if I want sorry, Esther asks, what if I want my husband to see how upset I am if he legitimately does something hurtful or upsetting? I guess she's talking about the silent treatment also. Like, I mean, maybe she's not talking about the silent treatment, but she's saying, how do I show my husband how upset I am without yelling and without silent treatment?
Okay, fine. So, you just have to practice it. You can go and sit in front of a mirror and practice. You can just say, um, I was, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. That always helps. Men love to hear that, like that you're not blowing it up and whatever, because guess what we do? I've heard other women, do that kind of thing. So if you have a mountain, say, I don't mean to make a mountain out of a molehill, whatever, but that you said something yesterday that kind of upset me and I can't kind of get over it. So I need to share it with you. How can I share it with you in a way that's productive? I know in the past, when I try and share you something that is upsetting to me, you take it as criticism and I don't say it well, so I put you on the defensive. I'm really trying to stumble through how to do this. I just want you to know I need to tell it to you, but I also need to make sure that I don't hurt you with it and make a mountain out of a molehill and hurt you and blow it out of proportion or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And I feel like if we treat it like a little thing, it'll be a more little thing. So maybe I'm going to tell it to you. And then do you prefer like if I tell it to you or if I write it on a letter and send it to you and then you have time to think back? What do you prefer, dear? Hear his answer. And then you say, okay, fine. So I'm going to tell it to you because that's what you prefer instead of writing it down, whatever. And I want, the basic thing is when we were at your brother's or whatever, and you said that, my wife can't drive, so I know it's true. I know I've crashed the car 47 times, whatever. I know that I know it's true that I don't drive, whatever, but it embarrassed me in front of him. And I know it's not that big of a deal, but I would really like if you possibly could give me an apology for it and an intention not to do something like that again, like that. So you're basically walking him through what your needs are. The more you verbalize what's going on with you rather than actual, emotionalize and drama, try and take the drama down or out or down many notches. And then he hopefully can hear you. And you can tell him, I want to tell you something, but I'm afraid it's going to get off to a bad start or it's going to go off into a conflict, I'm going to have a fight about it. And I need to be able to communicate with you without it going into a fight. I don't know how to do that. We don't know how to do that. We need some practice on how to do that. And just that authenticity, that open air, that, ability to discuss, I think will be very, very forward moving in your marriage. Very, very good question. Okay, good. What else?
Okay, Leah, I'm so excited about these questions that are coming in. They're so authentic and I feel like relatable.
Yeah.
Okay, next question that came in is Rifki says, I'm embarrassed to say this, but when I give the silent treatment, it's the only time my husband comes after me. It's hard for me to drop this habit when it actually makes me feel closer and love to see him chasing me.
Oy, 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 oy. So I've got some really, really troubling news for you, which is you're gonna have to tell him that. Not you're gonna have to. The best way to get on the other side of that habit that you guys have is that. Um, it's funny. It's kind of like don't fix what ain't broke, but the problem is that there's a trust that it breaches. And whatever it looks like, the temporary gain that he chases you or whatever, there's a trust that's missing that if that was there, this sort of, sorry to say this, but this kind of dysfunctional pattern that you guys have would disappear. Like if that trust was there and that foundation was there because you weren't giving him the silent treatment, then he wouldn't, there would be other times when he would chase you when it wasn't part of that pattern. So if you break that pattern, I'm not saying there's a guarantee, but there's a much, 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 much higher likelihood that there'll be closeness all along and not just closeness when you've had a disagreement. So, I know there's a couple that he said to me, "Oh, I love having fights because I love making up." And I hear that. But, there's a difference between having a fight and then there's a difference between having a conflict and a resolution. A fight is where you're battling to, on opposite ends and you each have swords and you're trying to cut each other, and that's a fight. A good conflict means that, or a healthy conflict means that he feels one way and you feel the other, and he expresses his opinion, and you said, I can hear that, and you're really listening, and then you say, well, this is how I feel, and then he really listens, and that's how you have conflict resolution. So building into the system a silent treatment dysfunction where he's got to chase you is a function of the fact that something isn't working in the marriage underneath, that there's a trust missing. And the fastest way to get that trust back is by dropping the silent treatment. And if you're having a conflict or whatever, and you're about to go into the silent treatment, if you've had a preemptive conversation with him and told him, listen, when I get like that, I go into the silent treatment. I don't want to play that game anymore. I don't think it's trustworthy. I don't think it's good for our marriage. But I think when I'm feeling like I need to give you the silent treatment, I think I need to be able to say, I'm really feeling like I need to give you the silent treatment. And hopefully that will wake your eyes up that hopefully we can brainstorm and figure out better and other things to do besides that. It's a very good question. It's not an overnight boom solution or whatever, but I hear you're drawn to the silent treatment, and I'm telling you, you're not recognizing in any way, shape, or form what the costs of the silent treatment are. And if you got in touch with that and saw that, I think it would strengthen you to be able to resist going into the silent treatment. And I wish you the best of luck on it. It's a process. We're all growing. We're all like, here's where we want to be. Here's where we are. We're going in the right direction. We can't beat ourselves up for where we are. We just have to keep marching up. Okay, very good. What else, Gail?
Okay, so
great. These questions are amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so we have time for one more question, and then we'll do our homework. Ruchama asks, how can I be all warm and fuzzy with my husband after feeling hurt in an argument? Doesn't it make sense to have some silence and space afterwards?
I mean, every couple's different. So if that works for you guys, that's fine. The most crucial aspect of it is to stick to your routines. So for instance, if you had this really terrible argument where you were really upset that he did something he promised he'd never do and he did it again, and you found out and he didn't even tell you, and whatever, there's this whole drama and trauma and everything's going on, and then it finishes, and at that point you could say, I just need a little space to process, but I'm still going to make you dinner. I'm still going to be there for you. I'm still going to sweep the floor. I'm still going to, whatever you do to take care of your husband, still do not, under any circumstances, break the routines. And we know this from our sources, from our Masorah, that the strength of the home is built on the Seder, the how do you translate Seder? The backbone of the company, the routines and the order of the home, the table, the set table, everything going like clockwork. So no matter what happens, you're still moving forward. It's, there's no what's that called when somebody goes on strike? It's like, okay, I'm not helping with the dishes. Okay, I'm not making you dinner. I'm mad. No, we keep with the routines, and it does something besides creating a stability in the home for the children and for each other. Besides that, it also creates a emotional balance in ourselves. It's remarkable. If you give up, let's say you don't make him dinner, and now he's hungry and he's grouchy, and you're mad. Now you have a million things, and because you don't do that, then he doesn't take the trash out, and it just spirals into nightmare. And if you are very, very careful to keep to your routines, then you don't have to also do all the cleanup work you'd have to with all those ramifications of not treating each other well and not keeping to the Seder. So very, very important. If you do need space after, and I hear that, it's a good point. just verbalize it. Verbalize and say, I think I need a little bit of space after that thing I need to process, but I'm still making you dinner. That's it. It was fantastic questions. Okay. Wow. I'm going to give you your homework now. The homework for today's class is one time this week when you are feeling completely overwhelmed and upset and resentment and angry, do one act for your husband that keeps your routine. Okay, so I'm only saying do it once. For those A+ students or those overachievers or whatever, you can do it as many times as you like, but at least once this week, when you totally are resentful or upset or angry or in the middle of a conflict, do an action to take care of your husband. You'll see it can flip the whole thing around. He will feel loved. You'll feel more loving, and you'll feel like, I'm doing the right thing. And that's always a great feeling, especially if you've yelled or said something you didn't mean to say and so forth. If you still take care of him, it brings back the whole home into harmony. Okay, this is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masora and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masora better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. We do retreats. We do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.